Well, good afternoon. Thank everybody for being here today. We're here today to announce that we've introduced the Water Resources Reform and Development Act of 2013. The bill has been a bipartisan bill from day one. We've worked closely with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to come forward with a bill, a reform bill, a bill that's important to America. And again, we put a second R in the bill, Water Resources, the WRDA bill with a second R, Water Resources Reform and Development Act, because there's significant reform. And as we went through the process to develop this, both Republicans and Democrats alike saw the need to make sure we streamline and be able to move these projects forward faster, which we believe is important to the nation, ensuring that our country has an efficient water transportation system. It's not a regional issue; it's a national priority. As we look at our trade volumes, are expected to double within the next decade, and then double again the decade following that. This bill is more than just trade. It's about jobs. Certainly, when you're dredging and rebuilding and building new projects, creates jobs, but this was really about long-term jobs and economic viability, competitiveness for the U.S. economy, for manufacturers to be able to build things in America and get them into the world markets efficiently is important for them to be able to gain or retain market share. It's about the products that come to our shores, that go into our stores, to be on the shelves at the lowest cost price possible. So again, this is economic development. This is about jobs. Let me touch on some of the highlights of WRDA. First and foremost, there are no earmarks in this WRDA bill. The first WRDA bill, and since WRDA bill has been around for 40 or so years with no earmarks in it. It cuts red tape, streamlines government process to prevent waste. We are limiting studies to 3 years, $3 million. It's called 333, 3 years, $3 million in all three levels of core, local, regional, and headquarters, looking at these projects at the same time, which we believe will significantly reduce the time it takes to do these studies. We fully offset the authorizations with deauthorizations. It's the first time in a WRDA bill that's happened. Again, we've authorized some new projects, but we're going to deauthorize as much or more of projects that are on the books that haven't moved forward. It also sunsets new authorizations. So after a 7-year period, if the project's not moving forward, it goes off the books. So we don't continue to build this massive backlog that we have today with the Corps of Engineers. And it authorizes needed investment in American ports and harbors, and again, as I said, to create jobs, not in the near term, but also in the long term. Overall, this is a new way forward for WRDA, and for America's critical infrastructure, one that accomplishes what's needed, but keeps an eye on the bottom line. Again, I'm very pleased to join here with my colleagues from the other side of the aisle who were full partners in this, and like to now turn it over to Nick Joe Rahal, West Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I associate myself with the comments that you've just made. This is certainly a bipartisan issue. It's an issue that's important to our nation, important to our consumers. It's important to the district I'm honored to represent, especially when you look at the amount of coal that we transport over our nation's waterways. As a matter of fact, that looks like a lump of coal sitting right there. Is that what that black lump is? Oh, it's an umbrella. Okay. I do appreciate Chairman Schuster and the manner in which he has conducted himself, Subcommittee Chairman Bob Gibbs, our ranking member Tim Bishop, other members of the committee that are here on both sides of the aisle. I commend all of them and our staffs, both sides of the aisle, for the manner in which we bring this bill to our committee for markup in the very near future. One of the first hearings, Mr. Chairman, I believe that you called before our committee in this new Congress was on water resources issues. And it was an informative hearing. It taught many on our committee the importance of WRDA. Matter of fact, what WRDA meant, what it stood for, its importance to our economy and to this nation. And thanks to your diligent efforts and those that I've already made, we are bringing forth a bill that does have bipartisan support. We've had hearings, meetings, roundtable discussions, bringing the stakeholders in, a very comprehensive approach to legislation, and I commend Chairman Schuster for this manner. The investments contained in this bill mean jobs for our maritime economy, as large as important as they are, but as well it means larger partnerships. It means that we'll be able to move our goods throughout our network of intermodalism. And it means that larger container ships will be able to call at deepened ports to afford their cargo, to offload their cargo rather, while filling their decks with American exports. This will efficiently move our commodities from farms, from coal mines and steel mills down the inland waterways that crisscross our nation. This legislation will help protect our flood-prone communities so that families, homes, and businesses remain safe when waters unexpectedly rise. These are all investments that make our nation more competitive. They grow our economy. And most importantly, as the chairman has said, they create jobs. Jobs for Americans, good paying jobs. Additionally, with this bill, we're getting back on the path to WRDA reauthorization every 2 years so that needed projects don't languish. We've been too long without a bill, and that process of lengthiness needs to end. One of a bill of this scope, of course, there are many things that we've done differently. The chairman has listed those, but it's important to note that this legislation is a good bill that we have produced. It's not exactly the bill I would have written had it been my druthers. It's probably not exactly the bill the chairman would have written had he had the opportunity to write the bill by himself. So it is a process that has involved many different people and taken many different considerations into effect. So I believe that this is a good indication of where our Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure is headed. And it's because of the all-inclusive reaching across party aisles that Chairman Schuster has initiated that I believe will bode well for future pieces of legislation before our committee. So again, I commend our chairman, and I turn it back over to him. Oh, okay. Turn it over to Subcommittee Chair.
Thanks. I'm Bob Gibbs, the Subcommittee Chairman of Water Resources and Environment, and second term in Congress. My first term, I was privileged to be in this same position, along with my ranking member, Tim Bishop. And one of the things I've learned, this bill is important to our global competitiveness, enhancing that and improving that. And if you look at on a tonnage basis, over 90% of our exports moved through the maritime transportation system one way or another, an inland waterway system or through the ports. And so we have to grow our exports, we grow our economy and create jobs. And one of the reasons it's so important is we have to continue to have an efficient maritime transportation system, and that we have been blessed with that with our inland waterway system and our ports throughout the United States, including the Great Lakes. But the sad state of affairs is we're starting to fall behind because our infrastructure, our locks on our dams and our levees and our ports are not where they should be, the authorized depths and the age of our locks. And so we're starting to experience slowdowns and possibility of complete shutdowns that will definitely affect our economy and the cost of moving things in and out of this country, and for consumers, the bottom line. And so this bill has a lot of reforms in it, a lot of streamlining, and it really attacks the cost issue, the cost of moving commerce, freight in this country. And so, I was just been really amazed or astonished when I've gotten in this position almost 3 years ago now to learn how long it takes to do some of these projects. And this bill sets new parameters, new conditions where we are going to get these times it takes to do the studies and do the projects considerably shorten the time period. And that is time is money, and that's a cost savings, and that will benefit to our economy and to consumers alike. And so I'm proud to say that we've got a strong bipartisan bill. I think it's going to move forward in an orderly fashion, and it's going to be good for America and its long-term benefits. And then we also look in the areas of besides the maritime transportation part, but also flood mitigation, flood control. Very important to protect lives and property. And this bill has lots of provisions in there to work with the Army Corps so they can do their thing and also partner with local stakeholders so they can be a better partnership and allows abilities for them to get into the program and work with the Corps even if they have the money to do it. Currently, a lot of local stakeholders can't do what they need to do because they've been shut out, and this is a way to bring that in. So I'm really proud of this this bill as we move forward, and I can't stress enough the reforms in this bill, how it moves us forward to bring down the cost. And so I'll be happy to take some questions, I think, at the end here. But I want to turn this over to Tim Bishop, my ranking member from New York State.
Well, I'm delighted to stand here and be a part of this team that is introducing the Water Resources and Reform Development Act. I want to start by commending Chairman Schuster and Chairman Gibbs for the manner in which they have worked with us to bring this legislation to the floor. This is, I think, a return to the, I would say, cherished bipartisan tradition of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and I think it shows our colleagues in the Congress, and I think it shows the American people that we can work together in a cooperative, collegial way, and we can produce legislation that moves this country forward. As Ranking Member Rahal said, this is not the bill that any one of us left to our own devices would have written, but it's a good bill. And it's a bill that moves us forward, and it's a bill that will put people back to work. When we invest in our nation's infrastructure, everybody wins. Workers win because they have jobs to go to, the environment wins, and the economy wins. And this bill will do that. This bill will put in place the kinds of investments that we need. It will help us in terms of maintaining our harbors, both large and small. It will help us with respect to projects on the inland waterways system. And as the chairman said, it also has reforms to the process that we will undertake to move these projects from initiation to completion. So as I say, it is a good bill. We are confident of passage in our committee. Hopefully we'll have similar outcome in the full House, and then we go to conference with the Senate, and we think we go to conference with a very strong bill and in good standing. So with that, I turn it back to the chairman.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. And I just want to take that opportunity to introduce two of our freshman members that are joining us here. Tom Rice from South Carolina, who has great concern over the coastal erosion on the beaches in South Carolina and the ports in South Carolina. And when I went down there, you visited his district. You learn a lot. One of the things I learned is Myrtle Beach is the third most popular vacation destination in America. Didn't know that. But a lot of opportunity down there. But Tom worked very, very hard, rolled up his sleeves, and helped us to craft this bill. From the other part of the country, Mark Wayne Mullen, again, traveled to his district. And one of the things I learned was that the port of Catoosa is the largest inland port in the country. I didn't know that, but Mark Wayne took us there, showed us it, and how important that inland port is to the nation. And also, Mark Wayne brings a tremendous knowledge from the private sector in. He's a guy who's dealt firsthand with red tape and literally been in the ditch trying to figure out how to get pipelines and infrastructure moving forward, overcoming the red tape. So good. Two great members of the committee worked very hard to produce this bill. And so with that, we'd be happy to take some questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, how does the bill address the question of the barge fuel user fee to help fund locks and dams modernization? We've been, as you know, talking about this for years, and some of these locks are 80 years old now, and the question of funding with industry support for this user fee is key for many industries in the Midwest.
Well, this bill does not deal with the user fee on that. That would come out of the Ways and Means Committee. I know there's broad support in both houses and from both sides of the aisle, I think, on that. But this bill does not deal with the revenue, the revenue, the user fee. What it does do is tries to, right now, 100% of the Inland Waterway Trust Fund goes to the Olmsted Project, which is a project on the Ohio River that's gone on for 25 years or 30 years. It's still not completed. What we've done is taken and reduced the amount coming out of the Inland Waterways, instead of 100% to 75% appropriations, or from the 75% appropriations and 25% out of the inland Inland Trust Fund is this cost share instead of 50-50 now. We believe that's a first step towards getting some of these dollars out there to other really important projects out there that are being neglected and are in danger of being shut down or failing. Yes, sir.
What are the main differences between your bill and the Senate passed bill?
There's some similarities. One of the major differences I will tell you is that the process that we lay out in our bill moving forward. The Senate bill, if their bill were to pass and become law, approves projects, but going forward, or authorizes projects, but going forward, the Corps of Engineers and the OMB would self-authorize. It would take Congress out of it. So the biggest difference is our bill does not do that. We have not ceded 1 ounce or 1 inch of our congressional constitutional authority to the executive branch. Going forward, we set up a process, a transparent process. Stakeholders from around the country will be working with the Corps to develop projects and then bringing them back to Congress, and Congress will set the priority list. Congress will say what needs to move forward, what won't move forward. So that's probably the biggest difference. Again, there's lots of things out there that we're close on, but as we go to conference, I'm sure we'll be able to work out a lot of those. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the environmental streamlining provisions? And specifically, environmental groups came out with a letter this morning contending that environmental review is not the thing that's responsible for delays, that there's actually no evidence that can respond to that.
Well, I think there's a lot of evidence. I would disagree with them, but in our bill, let Bob Gibbs, who worked so hard on this, to talk a little bit about the streamlining.
Well, a couple things. We talked about the 3x3x3, meaning that it has studies have to be done in 3 years, no more than $3 million, and the other 3 is at the district level and the regional level, the DCL level, they're working together and not separately, so they're collaborating, and that shortens the time period. Other area is agencies that get involved. Now, the Army Corps of Engineers will be the lead agency, but there's other agencies in environmental studies that need to have an interest, Department of Interior, Wildlife, and all that. They need to be involved from day one, not after the Corps is done with their studies, like environmental studies and whatever, and then they say, well, what if? They need to be in as a part of that in the beginning, and that helps shorten that. So we're trying to get collaboration, working together, and not working, working concurrently, not consecutively doing that.
I think the biggest reason that Corps projects take as long as they do is the inadequacy or uncertainty of the funding stream. So it is not environmental reviews that slow down Corps projects in the main. But what we're trying to do is have a balance between appropriate environmental protections and a process that's going to actually work and going to actually move us to the point where we're ready to construct a project. And we think what's in the bill strikes the right balance. Reasonable people can look at it and say we're not so sure, but we're trying to, as I say, we're trying to be as conscious of and as protective of the environment as we can be, while at the same time seeing to it that we have a process that moves forward at the appropriate pace.
And just one final point, we've not eliminated any environmental reviews. As Bob said, we've just streamlined them, forcing them to come together, and let's get this thing moving faster. Thank you.
Any changes to the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund or Harbor Maintenance Tax?
No change to the tax on there, but we have set up a process where historically, go back to 2000, last year and years before, about 50% of the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund was spent on harbor maintenance. The other 50% was put in a box, and the appropriators could spend how they wanted. This year, it's a historic level, 65%. In our bill, what we've done is try to reform the process so that every year it inches up 2% a year to get to, by 2020, I believe it is, 80% of the fund is spent on the harbor maintenance. So again, it's not something we could fix overnight. There are a lot of people. The ramp back was out there, but we believe we've taken steps in the right direction to continue to push that so that those dollars are spent where they were intended to. Better do two. So I keep it to you first.
Hi, are you still planning to introduce a Water Infrastructure Finance Innovation Authority bill, or are you going to wait to conference with the Senate on that? Or are you still planning on introducing a standalone?
Well, I don't know that we made a decision on that. I know it's in the Senate bill, so we'll obviously be taking a look at that as we go to conference. So Yes, sir, final question.
Given the concerns about spending, particularly among freshmen and sophomores in your caucus, what kind of a sales job do you think you're going to need to carry out in the weeks ahead to get this through?
Well, first of all, this bill doesn't spend anything, it authorizes. It's going to still be up to the appropriators to decide how much money we have, what we can move forward on. And I think, as I said, we don't have earmarks in this bill. This bill is fiscally responsible. We are deauthorizing as much or more than we're authorizing, which is a first. So I hope our colleagues look at that. We're not sure how CBO is going to treat it, but the math here in Washington is very different from everywhere else in the country. The way I look at it is we're going to authorize about $8 billion in projects, $2 billion in modifications. 8 plus 2 is 10 to me. We're going to deauthorize about $12 billion, minus 12. We should get a big plus score from CBO, but I have a feeling the math at the CBO, I don't know where they went to school, but 8 plus 2 minus 12 is -2. So we'll find out how they're treated. But again, going to our colleagues and talking to them about this, again, we're moving forward with major reforms, being fiscally responsible in the way we're authorizing and deauthorizing. So I hope that my colleagues will take a look at that, and I hope their math looks the same as mine. Thank you. We're done. Thanks a lot.
Good job, Chairman. Good job.